If you know of anyone who will be interested in doing this to take over, please come and talk to me tonight. Send me an email, send me a text, maybe talk to someone else that knows me to express your interest if you're nervous in doing that. We do need someone else to help us take this over and continue this legacy series. The idea behind it, as other legacy series have been going on, is much like what other organizations are doing. We're hoping to have one of these during the rock season and then one of them in the winter, at a minimum. Potentially more, but more than likely this will be enough for an all-volunteer organization like ours. Which brings on another point. Thank you everyone for donating tonight, for wanting to be a part of this raffle. This is a huge thing. The Climbers Coalition is 100% volunteer run. No one gets paid for any of it. When you see our website, and we have a trail day. We haven't had one of those in a little while. I'll kind of circle back to that in just a second. But the liability insurance for that, anyone who has had to deal with insurance knows what's happening. It is going up a lot. We do need that in order to perform the trail work. And we are about to have some really big breakthroughs with the Department of Environmental Conservation over what we're allowed to do. So, if you are looking to take over from me, please come and see me so that we can move all of this stuff forward again, okay? I would also like to say just some other things. If you haven't already figured this out, besides drinks at the bar, we can get food here. There's bathrooms in the back. You can go downstairs after this for table service. Austin and the in-laws, the band will be going on about 8. And now, again, because of tonight, everything that's happening here was all donated to us. All right? That's a huge deal. We got this space for free. So if we can get a huge round of applause for Smoke Signals and its staff. Because certainly without this space happening, this event would not be what it is. I've already been feeling so much good energy here. I'm seeing so many faces that I haven't seen in a long time. And that's so awesome. And I feel like that would not be what it was without us being in here right now. Our raffle and contest prize sponsors. We'll kind of run through them, save applause till the end here. We've got a lot. Cascade Designs came in huge for us. They made a massive donation for a very, very tiny, small nonprofit organization. Locally, the Mountaineer and High Peak Cyclery both contributed a lot of these prizes from them, not like us reaching out directly to companies. So that's a really big deal. Please, please, please take advantage of their businesses when you're in town if you're looking for really high-end stuff and staff that knows what they're talking about. Mammut North America, Petzl North America, Metro Rock Burlington, Kevin McKenzie, all made other contributions to us. So we get a round of applause for those sponsors. All the folks who are checking you in, selling raffle tickets, they are members of the Adirondack Climbers Coalition board, which is really huge. We do have some other volunteers here. Emery Clark, if he can put his hand up right now. He's standing over there. This is the event organizer. So none of this would have happened without his doing. I'm merely here acting as the MC and sort of the go-between for a couple of the other things. And then finally, to Jamie Cunningham, our presenter tonight, driving over from New Hampshire to give us a look at what his time here in the Adirondacks was during the era of the late 70s into the early 80s. So a huge round of applause for Jamie. And I'm going to turn it over to him.
Holy shit, nice to meet you all, see you later. I'm not accustomed to doing this sort of thing, but thanks for coming tonight. It's awesome. Yeah, I started in 1978 here in the Adirondacks, and before that, I sort of grew up with a life of adventure. Grew up sailing on a 54-foot yawl, sailing the New England coast. You know, like my father had a boat, and every summer we'd go all the way up the coast of Maine, so I learned a lot about navigation. And we moved to the British Virgin Islands, had a charter yacht business. And then when my mother died of burns, I got farmed out to England and had my high school in England at a military school, at a nautical school, where I learned a lot of celestial navigation, coastal navigation, which I already knew a lot of that. But that's kind of a segue into how I got into climbing. Climbing sort of started taking a train from this is 1976, taking a train just right after the Montreal Olympics. Took a train from Montreal all the way to Vancouver. In those days, I don't know if you can still do it, but you could buy a one-way ticket. You could get off anywhere and hang out for a year, or just prior to the year, and continue your journey. So on the train, I fell in with some climbers and got off in Jasper, and that's when I first started to rock climb. One of my missions was I signed up for a Knowles course for 1977. So I started climbing in 76, but I took a three-week extended mountaineering course with them. So I kind of learned how to ski on wooden skis with no edges and a heavy pack. This fella here, instrumental with the beginning of my time in the Adirondacks, and he happens to be sitting right here. So Rich, will you please stand up? This is Rich all right. And we both went to Paul Smith College, and he was just graduating. I lasted one semester because it was such a party school. They had kegs all the time in the dorm. We'd run down the dorm and spring up and like do a hand and foot press. So we were actually, horizontal press there and just kind of walk our way over people's heads. And then there was the other guys. There was Sal Pisani and Rosemary, and we were a bunch of hippies, dirtbag climbers. I had aspirations of climbing in the Himalayas, which I was to achieve later. But living the life as a skier and climber. We have some ski ADIRONDACK people here that I know that have got a strong history of backcountry skiing, right? Mark Mishnelli, who's sitting right there. So we do have some luminaries like Don Meller sitting in the seat right there, ignoring me. I know you don't like the spot. You should be standing here, not me. How the hell did I become the one? I know, it's that thing in the guidebook about, up on Bob Knob, smoking pot, and then, stuff like that. And then on, social media, I gave a little bit of this in here. But anyway, here are the Three Musketeers. Look at the climbing gear. Sal in the middle. He was really a good climber, but he had all the gear. So Rich I don't think had any experience prior to this. And I had my Knowles experience, and I'd started climbing in New Hampshire a little bit. So we struck out, start to conquer things, and notice, let's see, we got gold line rope, which is real stretchy, no cams, and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of gear we're dealing with. Yeah. And now you see those fast ascenders? Those came from Ma Schaefer's. And raise your hand if you know who Ma Schaefer is. All right, good. Okay, she had a climbing backpacking store in
Raise your
Keene.
hand if you stole from her.
I went in there to buy a hex. Todd Eastman was gonna put me on a spider's web second ascent. And she came downstairs, and I had the hex on the counter, and she said, "I don't know you." And I said, "Correct." And she said, "Do you know how to use this?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I'd feel really bad if something happened to you and you bought it here." And I said, "Give me the nut, please." And she put it back under and said, "I don't know you, and I'd feel awful if something happened." And this was a store.
And it was dusty, and yeah. It's not the mountain here.
Those Vasque Ascenders, by the way, have steel shanks in them. That's how stiff it was a great boot for face climbing, but you certainly not on
they're like designed for aid climbing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know any better. We're doing
That was
slab
what was
and
available,
we did everything. And I took about a 35-footer on Thanksgiving on trying to do friction up Thanksgiving with the things. And it took a while that there was EVs.
There are some EVs in the background up on the upper right corner. That's a pair of EVs, I think.
What the hell are they doing there? And this is the Paul Smith crowd. We became fast friends and ended up getting it after Paul Smith's, eventually getting an apartment here and living the life. And how do you like Rich's turban? And top of Pitch Off Cliff, we probably finished up Pete's Whip Farewell. That was kind of a common climb we did together. And we really began on Mount Joe, over by, the, whatever you call it. Most of you probably know it because you live here. Oh, the Adirondack Lodge. I'm senile now. So I didn't have climbing shoes at that point, so my hiking boots worked good. I taught climbing in Wales, and they started students out in mountain boots to learn footwork. So that was a good way, and then you gave us slippers to go. We'll have a shot of Don Meller climbing in slippers in a little bit. I got to move right along. So after Paul Smith, we got a job at out in Gabriel's at a Christmas tree farm, and it had this boulder that Rich and I had a natural attraction to, and here we are doing a hard laid-back friction move with our Vasque Ascenders. We did manage to get up it, but now notice my hand; it's full of pitch, and notice those are Army surplus Navy khakis, and the old woolies, and my trademark headband. This guy is Mike Chapman, and he was part of our crew. That he was a rookie too, and taught all these guys a little bit more of the fine works of how to work with gear. Unfortunately, he died in a hang glider crash. But he was really talented musician. He would play in Saranac Lake at all the bars and stuff like that. So, Paul Smith's time, the culture was pretty much, party time, and we started to make a close group of people. Our first forays onto Chapel Pond. That's Rich and Mike there. We didn't have any belay devices per se, but we were doing hip belays. As you can see, the harnesses were, this wasn't a Swami. It was through
Tide webbing.
Yeah, tide webbing. It's a Swiss seat or something like that. You tied it in a fashion that you had leg loops. We didn't have any money to speak of, and we just scraped together whatever we had. And this is Rich Leswing now, about 4 years ago.
Something like that.
And there he is then. Really hasn't changed much.
Good job, man.
Okay, so here is a perfect example of how not to do a hip belay. And can anybody tell me why? Why would this be? Well, you're all chuckling. Somebody's got to know, why is that a bad belay? Okay, I'll have to tell you. You see my left hand, if Sal Pisani, if he were to fall and pendulum, he would be pendulum across and unwinding from my body. How am I going to deal with that kind of fall? Not too well.
Not to mention slack in the system.
Shut up, Rick. This guy is Rich Romano. Raise your hand if you know who this chap is. All right. No further introduction. Wild and crazy dude. He did Romano's crack on Spider's Web and about 1,000 first ascents throughout North America. Mexico too. Sorry to embarrass you. And that's me in New Jersey at.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Well, that was my rugby shirts were big time there, okay? But I actually played rugby in England, and that was my first 15 shirt from Pangbourne College. But the loafers were good edgers. And then a few weeks ago, my girlfriend Sue, right here, who's my love of my life, and has her family, part of her family, her daughter and son-in-law live in Saranac Lake, and we've been together since, I don't know, May, but somehow I got full circle to a connection back to a bed in Saranac Lake, so I'll be showing up here a lot more because I'm a beggar. So anyway, a lot of our climbing began on Baker Mountain above Saranac Lake. This is Bill Cotton doing an aid line through the roof. And this is the only ice climb on there. It was like a chimney thing. So I went back trying to recognize some of that, and that's what it looks like now in a few weeks back. And learning to find, we're kind of learning how to ice climb there. And that's Pete Benson. He's retired from the Saranac Library. He's been there, I don't know how long, but before that he was at the YMCA camp, Rich?
Eagle Island Girl Scout camp on Upper Saranac Lake.
Right, and he was sort of, not the director, but he was sort of the...
And then he went into teaching after that, and then he was the director of the Saranac Lake Free Library. He just retired from that a couple years ago.
Right.
Yep.
So, by the way, the little things, the stripy things going horizontal, I specially ordered those. So, this is like 1978, 79. No, this would be winter 70, yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. And that top of Roaringbrook Falls, double boots, leather. I think those are hinge crampons. What do I have there? Chenard axe, and I think it might be a Molnar, Forrest Molnar. And this is Chuck Turner, and he became the next in line in terms of acquaintances. We had our tight, Rich and I actually, I think the others have moved on, like Sal and Rosemary, and I was in between going to school in Maine and coming back and hanging out whenever I could. But I think, Rich, did you first meet Chuck?
I don't remember. This was taken at Owl's Head, at the bottom
Yeah.
of the base of the Owl's Head, but I don't remember where the heck I met Chuck. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, we met him and got to know Chuck. Incredible athlete. He was a scientist at help me, Miller.
Alton Jones Nelson.
Alton, is that still in existence?
Nope.
Well, when did it fold?
90s.
Oh, really? Okay. So, he had a real job, and he had real equipment, and we became fast friends. So, you know, we would, so can anybody tell me what route this is?
PF Flyer?
PF Flyer, that's right. And so me and Chuck actually, you know, and Rich, we started climbing and started actually beginning to put it in first ascents. Chuck and I had gone to the backside of Pitch Off and did a couple Thread of the Needle or Needle of the Eye or whatever. Trevani, or it was after a novel, Follett novel, I think. And then we did some stuff in the middle washbowl and scattered about in the early days. So that's the L. And then I noticed the other day when I was looking up at Pitch Off that people don't go this way anymore. I do. You do? Yeah. I mean, let's do a survey. How many people go this way? Okay. How many people do that traverse over the top? All the time?
Not all.
No, okay. So most okay, I'm proud, good. Because I was disappointed at these people doing the traverse. But notice the hex and the drooping gear. You know, still kind of neophyte. That's a Willens harness, which was a real innovation. By then I graduated to EBs. And that's me and Chuck hanging out there, sitting under the overhang because of the big thunderstorm, rainstorm. And this is Rich on Frosted Mug. We started to go into the beer walls about 1982. We started picking away at that.
That's aesthesia, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, aesthesia, sorry. Good thing is people know what the hell I'm talking about.
And I'm wearing a swami.
By the way,
swami
buckle
belt.
down, this might be a long show because I'm talking too much. Is this aesthesia?
Yeah. And I'm wearing a swami belt. Remember, we went from tied harnesses to, we migrated to swami belts.
Speak
And
for
then
yourself.
we went back.
I went to the Willens,
Yeah.
and then Don Meller started wearing it,
Yeah.
and he was the trendsetter. Yeah. And then Chuck did it.
Right.
And I don't know when Mishnelli, did you ever do a Swami belt? You did, okay. And Rich right here, he still climbs with the equipment from the 1970s and he still wears a Swami belt. And he did a first ascent, a 511 first ascent yesterday in the guns.
Well, I figure the reason I wear
You're
this
badass.
the Swami belt, the only reason I wear it is if I'm rappelling a drop or rope and I'm flying, I have 20 feet. I can do 200 miles
What the hell? Anyway, you're wasting my time here. So, this is Chuck Turner on the first ascent of, I forgot, on the beer walls. It's kind of to the left of like Pegasus and, you know, where Red Rum would start. What is that route there? Probably never gets climbed. Yeah, we're really interested in that one. Okay, so back to Pitch Off. I think we're doing a photo opportunity here, but one thing I know, again, it's going back to, you know, see those, you can see how the vegetation's different. Okay? Oops, sorry. I got a twitch. I'm nervous. Oh, shit. Notice how I'm calm. All right, so what is there and what's not? You can see back in the day when this thing was really hopping, you know, when Don Meller was scrubbing the hell out of this place, it looked like that more. But I don't think when this shot was taken, you can see a lot of those middle routes had not been developed. I remember that Don Meller and myself and Bill Dodd, we did some ridiculous thing, kind of going, I think, up from that birch tree somewhere in there. Where did Don go? I think he ran.
Hidden Constellation.
I think he ran away. Yeah, hidden constellation. So that hadn't been done there, and you know, is that what the hell? It is. There. Okay. I'm gonna stop doing that. So that birch tree's gone. What else? How about that one to the far right corner? Is that gone?
The birch tree is gone because that belay, the high belay, had a giant block. And it was hard to stand there. Now it's a nice little flat triangle.
Yeah.
And somebody must have given it a push.
Which
It
one
wasn't
on
me.
the right?
But that's what took the birch tree out.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of those other routes hadn't gone up by then. So you got somebody doing that traverse. How hard is that traverse? I never did it back then. 5, 6.
Yeah.
All right. And this is Jim Wagner, one of the early he was the manager of the Mountaineer. And I'm indebted to him because I had started a guide service in competition, I think, with Meller. You know, he helped out with a lot of equipment and encouragement. And by then, you've probably heard of the Red House. We'll get more into that later. So I had a guiding service, and this is dragging a kid happily up that chimney there at Pitch Off. Teaching them how to coil ropes and get around. So there's the famous Red House, and that's where all kind of debauchery happened. There's no young children.
There's a couple.
So yeah, there's going to be stuff that's X-rated here. Well, maybe R. It depends on who you are. I think I almost got in trouble with Don Miller in the rink in Lake Placid where the Grateful Dead was playing. We were tripping on acid and mushrooms. No, you were chaperoning the kid. You were. No, he's a teetotaler. So yeah. So anyway, you know, we were circling around, you know, keep on trucking, you know, that song and stuff like that, because it had the top thing. And me and Todd Eastwood, we're just circling around. Every time we went by Don, we're sort of like, let's look normal. I don't think we're too successful at that. Don's original guidebook, and these are my own handwritten notes. I think some of these routes had not been established yet, and it started a frenzy of new routing, and these are all routes that didn't appear in this first edition, and went into the second edition. So that's where source material came for Don's book down the line, and then of course you know there's a history going all the way to Jeremy Haas and Jim Lawyer. This is, I'm going to start introducing some of the Red House people. The Red House began with Vermont Voyager expeditions up in Montgomery Center. And I had gotten hired to lead their rock climbing program. And prior to that, I worked as a instructor at the National Center for Mountain Activities in northern Wales, and I worked there for summer and fall. So that's Peg Collins. We had Mike Young here. He's from Innisburg, Vermont, and we became fast friends all. And then there was Ben Woodard. We were the first three to rent the Red House. And Ben, does anybody know who Ben Woodard was? You do. So what did Ben do?
Ranger out of Colden.
Yeah.
Good friend, then up in Catawba.
Yeah, exactly. Did everybody hear that? Yeah. So yeah, he's an accomplished ranger. He's been all over, but I think he retired from Catawba, or we went south or something. Yeah.
tired.
Yeah, yeah. And he kind of loosened up the regulations there. He was, you know, because it was super regulations in Katahdin. I actually worked there a summer's trail crew, and I had run of the place. And I don't know if anybody knows Ben Townsend. I'd work 4 days of heavy, hard labor, and then head up in the South Basin, do routes there. I put new routes up on Pamoa, and then me, Paul Abrams, and Ben, we did a direct route up the North Basin, the Tabor Wall. It was like a 10, 11 pitch climb, about 510A, that I got dragged up. So here's Mike on the slabs, barefoot. And I call the Chapel Pond slabs the office. And soon you're going to be introduced to Ken Revel. Ken Revel first introduction to me was just soloing around all around Chapel Pond in just a pair of shorts. Oh, there's Ken. The other member of the Red House. Okay, so the first generation was the three of us, and we started like a collective guiding service. Ben did like the canoeing. Mike and Peg did the backpacking combination canoeing, and then I ran the rock climbing program, and with Mike's help now and again. We weren't super busy, but I got busier as I went along. I think I had it going for about 4 years, scraping a living. And this is a good buddy of mine, Ken. Ken is still good friends, well, sort of politically divided. I'll get into the politics later. So yeah, that's Ken Revel. He was actually not living in the Red House, but he was one of the main drivers of the shenanigans. And we'll get into the shenanigans soon. That's why you all arrived here, I think. So ice climbing, and that's Ken there. We're just bouldering. I'm not sure where this is. I don't know if it's Mackenzie or not. I don't think that's the right kind of rock. It might be Chapel Pond. And then, okay, Bob Hay. So this is the nucleus of Red House. This is what it's all about here. Bob Hay, he worked in the restaurant business, so he's got one of those restaurant-y kind of shirts on. And he's kind of a crazy son of a bitch, pretty funny. His humor was like really weird. You know, he would say something and you'd go like, what the fuck did he just say? You know, and then you would get it. You know, he was that way. He's kind of goofy. He never really became much of a climber. But anyway, the Red House became a place where transient climbers would stop and we'd put them up. We had a big field in the back and people could set up their tents. Those that got tight with us would stay, and those were the house rules, okay? And, you know, we would have mice for dinner because we didn't have a lot of money. But upstairs, we had, Dave Flynn had his command center, and that's where he would write the Adirondack, you know, like, what do you call it? Help me out, guys. Adirondack Journal. Yeah, it wasn't a blog back then. It was journal, and basically did all the layout and all the copy, and a lot of us contributed stuff. I think Don, you put something in there. So anyway, and here we begin. Okay, we got a reputation for partying hard, playing hacky stack, and Keene Valley probably shook their head, particularly the lady in the grocery store. She just kind of ran the other way when we came in. So we got Chris Revel, and then Ken Revel, and I think that's Dave Flynn. And that's Dave Flynn there. He was the first ever and only to put on tights. Me and Ken refused to go into that era. by then, we had accumulated some gear and we're starting to climb fairly seriously. Here's Don on, I think we were doing Dos, the first ascent of Dos Equis on the beer walls. That's me on the first ascent of On Tap's Special Brew. And me and Chuck on the first ascent of Leichenbrau. So this is where we kind of hit our stride, and so Chuck is still part of it, Rich is still part of the scene, and then we have the Red House crew, a bunch of clowns. But you know, the driving force at this point was in terms of being able to climb something halfway decent. We never got known for doing hard routes like, you know, Mishnelli and Don here. You know, we're the middle ground. If you look through the book, we're not pushing very hard grades. You know, maybe 5.9. And later, that's Rich down below with his reverse breast, and me with my biking helmet. And Rich, you see where the blue you see where the blue, oh come on, move along. Seriously, see the blue where green's laying? I put a bong in there. And every time we climb that, we'd light it up. Does anybody know what a bong is? Well, you can thank Chenard for that. And I don't know if this is first ascent of Pegasus, but Rich did. It's a proud lead of doing the first ascent of Pegasus, and that was in '82. We scrubbed that wall pretty hard to make that route happen, and digging out cracks. And I think that's pretty true for a lot of the areas. I think, Mark, like Poco, you had to dig out a lot of the stuff to make that happen there, right? And I've heard that since there's very little climbers go there, you have to dig them out again. I think that's a true story, isn't it?
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah. It's a shame because there's awesome routes there.
One of the great cliffs
All these
of
people
country.
come in sport weenies or something, or what? Did Poco get out of fashion, or what happened?
It's a lot of drag.
Yeah,
A lot of drag.
yeah, that's what I mean. Sport weenies don't go, you know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I have a certain amount of prejudice. I think that is Leichenbrau, the first ascent. Okay, now we're going to Hurricane, and I got accredited for the first ascent of Quadrophenia. But as it turned out, 10 years after that, when it was 10 years before that, Richard Parker and somebody Anderson, I think, did the first ascent, and they had called it Bara Bara. So I popularized, you know, because of the other routes that I put up on that crag, and then following there was, I think Jim Lawyer, and then Don and Bill Dodd helped fill in some of the blanks over the years, but it hit the guidebook. We changed, it used to be called Pitch Off North, I think, and then I suggested we call it Hurricane Crag. So from that point it became Hurricane Crag. So when we came in there, this is in March, and it was a snowless March, and it was warm. We were walking in t-shirts and shorts, and I was really into the Who back then, and I brought this big boom box, and we just loaded it up with C batteries or D batteries, hit play, crank the music, and just climb. And you know, that was our wilderness experience. What is this saying? All right, help me out. Should I allow it? So yeah, anyway, we're having a good time. Listen to Quadrophenia until the batteries ran out. And quadrophenia. I don't think we had any cams then. And when we climbed it first, thinking it's the first ascent, it didn't have any fixed gear on it. And I believe there was a pin prior to that somewhere along the line fell out. Is there a bolt on it now?
No.
Somebody had told me that there, no, yes?
No.
No
There's
bolt.
a new anchor at the top of the first push though.
Oh, tut,
So
tut.
you don't have to
Okay.
lay your feet.
Okay, so anyway, just verifying, because I heard something. This is, look, roll, and fire, first ascent. And heading up to, it, which is a variation that heads left and out that corner, I believe. I'm not sure. And Roaring Brook Falls, sort of styling after Chenard and John Cunningham. You know, the Chenard book is where everybody learned modern ice climbing. But John Cunningham was a Scots guy, lived in Glasgow. I think I might be related to him because my ancestry is in Glasgow in the Mulligan Terre, which is just north of Glasgow. But anyway, there was pictures of them climbing on Ben Nevis, and they had that kind of attire. They just had their hat, and there's no, you know, no helmets or anything. A lot of us didn't climb with helmets back then. And this is backs against the wall, I think. Does that ever get climbed, or?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, good. That's because you were told to. And this is Rich. It's not the picture with the bandana out in his back pocket. That was classic. See, he has a helmet on there. And Ken Revel. Yeah, so Ken and I we really became a strong partnership. And a lot of things about climbing is you really get bonds and have lifelong friendships. And this is one of the guys. We've had somewhat of a falling out. It's kind of Luke Broem. He's kind of a Trumpite. I became an activist in New Hampshire called the New Hampshire Bridge Brigade, where we occupy bridges in succession along all of the interstate and major highways. When people pass under, they're seeing everybody's banners. He became more of a Trump, so we kind of started to butt heads. But we did a lot of climbing out west and attempted the south face of Annapurna. So shots of him and repeat. And now we're coming up on the first ascent of Jaws. I think it was probably 15 degrees out that day. And that's the equipment I had climbing it. Forrest Molnar, and that's not the life, that's a Chenard. And heading up to the Fang there. And you can see the diagonal crack heading out there. So I'm heading for that and starting to aid out. You can't see very well, but directly above my neck, that's a sideways hex that I'm standing on. And it was a detached pillar or fang, hence the name Jaws, and had to break away some of the ice. Actually, there's a Forrest Molnar, right? We always had a third tool. And then heading out onto the pillar, I'm still aiding though. By the time I got there, about between my belt and my chest, a fracture started to form. So I didn't dare kick my feet in there and have that thing cut out. I don't know if there was a screw in there. We had old Chenard screws and snargs. Anybody know what a snarg is? Even young people. Okay, good. Those are great now for like doing mixed climbing where you got dirt turf. You pound those in, they're great. Just don't get them too close to the rock because you won't get them out.
The ice out is a regular screw too.
What's that?
Good for cleaning the ice out of a regular screw.
Yeah. So I'm setting axes on that and trying to gain, these are a little out of sequence. All right, so I got out of there, but I'm hanging, I think I'm hanging off of tools there with a split. Yeah, I'm aiding on ice. Yeah, but the thing, I think you can see the fracture there just below the rope. So I was a little scared shitless on that. And I think this might be Whale Watchers. Which one?
Feeding frenzy.
Feeding Frenzy. Okay, so now if you're against drugs, sex, and rock and roll, leave the room. I thought you were a pious lot. Okay, so this is the Owl's Head, and we used to, go up there and top rope, and a good place to party. And the Red House got the idea to go up there and trip on acid while top roping. That shot wasn't during that time, but it's illustrative of where I was when this story is going to unravel the end and what happened and So anyway, there was me, Revel, Dave Flynn, Bob Hay, and myself. And we set up things before we took our tabs of Mickey Mouse, and and so we had made sure our ropes were set up right. So anyway, this is that little 5'9" on the very left end of Owl's Head. It doesn't have any protection, so it's mostly a top rope thing. So I decided that's the route I was going to try with Bob Hay, belaying. So I get about where that picture is taken, and I look around, and by the way, the crystals are really fantastic. I was climbing it slow because I was tripping out on that. Hey, look at this. Hopefully I didn't screw it up, but it kind of looked like that. I mean, you guys, really, don't do this at home. Do it on the craft. So anyway, I'm going to cause a problem here. Thank you. I'll take a sip of that in just a moment because I'm getting sweaty. Okay, so here I am in that position. I look around and Bob is walking away. I am now solo, freaking tripping out of my mind. I don't think I panicked, I just dealt with it. I mean, it was, what can a man do? Fall off? So anyway, this illustrates some of the Red House stuff. Pretty serious stupidity. And that's Bob Hay doing his Salvador Dali impression with his, catering attire on. He was a character. He's a pot fiend still to this day. He doesn't have both oars in the water, but he somewhat has a government job, so at least he's stable. Oh, and that's the 5'9" there, and that's a rugby shirt from England. And I don't know if that's you, Rich, or not. Is it a man or a woman?
I've never been asked that.
But did you ever have that color bandana?
Or bra.
No.
Like I said.
This is early ascent of lobotomy. The beer wall name, I think, started with Chuck Turner, because Chuck Turner and Bill Symes, I think the first route it went in was lobotomy.
Yeah.
Don might be able to correct me on that, but I think that's where the origin of the name, and then we started that theme from that point forward. And then this is Dave Flynn. He was a nervous guy, but he was funny as heck, loved smoking pot and drinking beer and carrying on, instigator, having a go on Pegasus. And he was a nervous stoke, you know, like when he get on a climb, he'd puke a lot. So he wrote a book about his time. He did a memoir, and a good section of the book is about the Bitch and Moan brothers. I don't know if I was Bitch or Moan, but Ken was the other half. And we always, you know, we're very competitive. We really became a strong partnership, and you know how that goes. You can really be hard on your buddy. Well, we were like that, and became known as the Bitch and Moan brothers. Who's that?
Don Miller.
All right, there's the man. Don Miller. Lots of stories about him. So, is that Rockaholic? I think this is when me and Don were trying to do a girdle traversing beer walls, and that became dose. We didn't. I think if somebody's up for the challenge, is do a complete girdle traverse of the beer walls. I really, because of my time in England, I became really fascinated. So over time, I've done a lot of different girdle traverses, and that's where that idea came up from. But whoever does that, I'll buy them a case of beer. And that idea came from when Rich and I did a first ascent in the south basin of Katahdin. We did a thing, we called it Wheat Fin, which is a Yosemite climb, but it was a very thin flake that we ate it at about, I don't know, A2. It was like, we didn't have any pens, so it was C2, C3, something like that. That's the way it felt. But we wrote in the journal down at the Chimney Pond that anybody freezes, that we'd buy them a case of Heineken. Nobody to this day has taken me up on that offer of Rich. So from Don, I considered him a mentor.
Don, one of those shoes.
I got those from Helmut Lennis. He had them, I don't know what they were called, but he got a pile of them.
Were you cheating?
Are they
business club.
RAs?
Was I cheating on who?
Well, nobody had those.
See, he was
No,
really
no, they
quick
weren't,
with it,
if
too.
Helmut's not here, they weren't very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They
anyway,
look studly.
Did you have underwear on,
I do now.
that we call that combat style. So I considered Don one of my mentors. I always felt kind of, I don't know, I felt a little uncomfortable around him because he was God, you know, and I felt like
With shorts like that, I'd be uncomfortable.
good point. But over time, we became good friends and did some good climbing together, along with Bill Dodd. And I remember on Poco, we did some route and we backed off on it. But I just have a tremendous amount of respect, and just observing how he climbs, his mastery of placing wiggly little, not even wiggly, just really precise wire placements, steady on his feet, his footwork was amazing. And just watching him, I really learned a lot. And I think my climbing really improved because of his being part of, you know, my climbing experience. And again, that's part of climbing, is to find good mentors.
And I've heard his gear placement is fantastic. boot, and I can relate to that.
Yeah, yeah. And Rich is a master at that as well, and he's put up first ascents all over the Gunks, and up in the Cascades, up in Washington, yeah, and other places, and then yeah, south of the border. But here is Don on Frosted Mug climbing in a pair of slippers. Can you tell us a little bit about why that happened?
Yes. They were $5 a pair. They were called Tom McCann Casuals. And they were canvas top, like your grandfather would go gardening in. But they had better friction than EBs. They just
Really?
did. So when I was guiding the slab, I was safer in those shoes than I was in EBs. Never thought I was, I just felt better
Yeah.
because of the gummy rubber and.
Well, everybody thought you were a crackpot. And it never really caught on. You just kept it to yourself all these years? Man. And Bill Dodd, just incredible human being, along with everybody else. I mean, he was a physics teacher in Ticonderoga, but he showed up on the scene probably 1982. And just really came hard and fast friends with everybody in the community. Don and Bill, you probably look in the guidebook over time, did a lot of first ascents. But Bill and I had done, we had done a lot of climbing together and just really got tight with him and Diane, his wife. Again, he's a very strong climber. And I'll go into more of that later. I'm kind of going a little slow here. This is Steve Larson, and he's doing the first ascent of Dark Horse Ale. Don and I were present at the time. By the time he got to the top, it was just pouring with rain. You remember that, Don?
I don't remember the rain. I just know it's a really hard rain.
Yeah. I don't know. It was probably 5'11".
I was with Steve last week.
Oh yeah? How's he doing?
He's all right.
All right.
He doesn't have as much hair.
He's become big in the technical rescue, instructing that sort of thing. He's got really a lot of respect throughout New England. Incredible climber. All these University New Hampshire climbers, like Don was one of them. I think he went there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a bunch of other ones. Who else?
Rick Fleming was a very good
Yeah.
climber.
Yep.
Steve, they both-
All of them became master climbers from University in New Hampshire. Bill Dodd, this is I think a day after the old man's reunion, a bunch of us got together with at Royce's house anyway. Is he here? No. And Bill Dodd, I think this might be up in Bon Echo. Me, Don, and Bill, and I think you had you were guiding somebody.
Alan Hobson. From
Yeah, that's right. You were guiding him, right?
No.
No. Yeah. So anyway, me and Bill teamed up, and Hobson and Don, and you have to canoe. Anybody know Bon Echo? Yeah, it's a real fun place. You canoe and belay out of the canoe. It's kind of like Rogers Rock, only steeper. It's got some great routes on it. And Tim Beeman, man, this is another big mentor of mine. He was sort of they didn't drink, Tim and Sylvia, but they would hang out and just have fun with us at the Red House. He was, I think, is not hydrology, but he was testing like rivers and lakes for acid rain, I think. So he was somewhat of a scientist, but a really accomplished climber. And Tim and Sylvia would camp out just about every weekend at the Red House and became a fixture there. But again, like Don, I learned an awful lot. I climbed a lot with him and learned just technical mastery with footwork, particularly crack climbing. He was an incredible crack climber. Did a lot of first ascents, and he's very much under the radar. But again, somebody who really made a difference in my life. He introduced me to the falafel iron, where you take 2 pieces of bread and you put all kinds of goodies in between, and you throw that iron, clam shut, and that. So he also showed up with prototypes of the Tricam before Tricam became a thing. He had climbed a bunch of, like maybe half a year in Australia, in the Blue Mountains, I think, and there was a fella there that I think invented, or at least handmade. You can see actually one of them in the, it's a larger one at the very bottom part of his rack by the tree. Those aren't Tricams. These are pre-Tricams. He came back from Australia, and they're incredible. Well, there's a bunch in the front there too. Although those look more like the real thing.
I think those are Tricams.
Those are Tricams, but anyway, he had probably the guy that really invented them from Australia. But he's pretty home there.
You know who that was? Was it John Eubank?
Yeah, yeah.
It was?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he climbed with him. Yeah.
It was a good friend.
Yeah, yeah. So that's Sylvia and Tim. They're pretty much, they're a partner, married, great people. Rich and I first met them at Artist Bluff in Franconia Notch after we'd done Whitney Gilman, and that was early on. It was probably 1979. And that's Sylvia climbing. So these next shots are up at Cobble Hill above Elizabethtown. I guess you can't climb there, and I think we were poaching, but it has incredible cracks. And you can see the scrub lines that the guys did. Bill Dodd on that. It's a beautiful little place. And Tim doing his mastery, just incredible. He was just steady as a rock. And Bill just strong. Technically pretty good as well. And a little side issue on here. This is Andy Helms. He lived down in St. Hubert's, and he was part of the scene. Mostly an ice climber. He was a logger, and I would pick up some money, some work from him, cutting down slash and stuff like that to make some cash over what I was doing guiding. So this is actually Bob Snob kind of traversing in on something. He's got a hummingbird in his left hand there. And then the lower one, I don't know what that is. Is that a Chenard or Salewa? Simone, yeah. Okay. Al Jolly. He never wore a helmet as far as I know. I think maybe once. And that was in Colorado when I climbed with it. But look at that bofo. I mean, look at the hair. It's perfect. He carried a comb with him everywhere, even during climbing. And he was the badass ice climber. He was a ice climbing machine. He loved it. He was kind of an odd duck, I thought. And I think he was sort of not so much kept to himself, but he would hang out, but he was very opinionated, very knowledgeable about technical gear, and maybe many of you already know that he became the founder of the AMGWXYZ. What do you call it? AMGA. So he was the founder of that. He lives out in Colorado, I believe. What?
Tire house.
But he's in another tire house in New Mexico.
Okay. So anyway, he was very instrumental in developing a lot of ice climbs around here, along with Don, help me out. I asked you that this morning.
Oh, Tom Yonan?
Tom Yandon. I tell you, Tom, I climbed with him a couple of times. We snuck into Cascade Lakes, and he dragged me up a couple of grade 5s. I could just make it to the top, and then I just would blow right out. I couldn't make it. He had to winch me up. So this is something that I noticed in the beer walls, and this is like the entry wall. As you hike up the gully there, on the left there's a wall, and it's been reclaimed by nature. And I had put up the route with Al. Basically, it would start at the left on the ground and end up on the ground to the right. There was a number of other traverse lines. There's a real nice 5/8 crack. And I think on the left there's a nice 5/7, and I'm just curious, why isn't that being climbed? I mean, those were really good climbs. Maybe somebody can make it a project and play around. That's a nice little girdle traverse.
Did it today.
Oh, you did?
It's pretty rough shape.
I saw it. I was.
Yeah.
Who's saying that? Oh man, yeah, it is in rough shape.
No,
You
yeah.
ever done anything around the corner there? It's in worse shape.
We did that too.
You're out of your mind. You're freaking out of your
No,
mind.
he set the record, it was to do all your pictures, how many pictures?
26.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was going like, really? So anyway, this is that entry wall. Good job on that, by the way. And old girlfriend on that 5/8. And some pictures of that wall, I think in the current state. I guess not too bad. It looks like it's been scrubbed down a little bit.
Yeah, that was struggling 3 years ago.
No, I took these pictures, Sue, when we were in there about a month ago. Yeah. And that's the beginning of that 5/8 crack. And first ascent of the sword with Al Jolly and his hairdo. Now, Al Jolly, me, and Chuck Turner went out to Colorado, and he was living in Boulder at that time, and we're doing stuff in El Dorado Canyon, Boulder Canyon, and then we decided to go up to Hallett's Peak in Rocky Mountain National Forest. We got about 3 pitches on that, and then a big thunderstorm came in with hail, and we bailed off, got to the base, and then all hell broke loose. Like big rocks started tumbling out of the sky, and we just like dashed under like the talus, wherever we can get out of there. I mean, it was good sized stuff coming off of there and exploding all around us. A little exciting. I think he wore a helmet on that day. And 1998, soloing with a pack. I don't know, how did I end up being called Jim back then? You can blame that on Paul Smith's college, it's a stumpy college, you know, a lot of testosterone going on. I said, my name is Jamie. No, your name is Jim. No, my name is Jamie. So Jim kind of stuck. And so in the Adirondacks, it was known as Jim. Then I went over to, I reclaimed my name later after I left. And that's Claudia Zephyr.
Audience of art.
Yeah, what route is that on Poco? That is Poco.
Looks like a king one.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
The what? Kingdom. The name of the route or name of the place? No, this is Poco. I know it because I took the picture. I was there that day. I wasn't tripping. It wasn't a fantasy.
There's no pine trees in Poco.
Well, that one is there.
Moving right along.
You know, I hear it's not climbed very much, so some of you guys might be a little long in the tooth about that. And you got Pete Benson, Al Jolly, Rich there, top roping that hard thing at the pitch off. And Rich working on the left side of the wall, Roach is on the wall, I think that one is. Wiggling in wires. He was obsessed with that, weren't you, Rich? He just, you know, like when me and Rich over several attempts with Chuck Turner, he did the first ascent of Jelly Arms, and that's where he was really clicking into the hard territory, doing like 5'11" stuff. I think that was his sort of breaking it. He was so obsessed. He'd go up, put gear, fall, go get lowered, pull the rope, rest, go back up, and then if he fell, he'd pull the rope over and over again. I think we were there finally on the first ascent when he finally did it, Rich, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I
I don't know, we'll just make it up. Yeah, we were there. And Tim Beeman, this is after the old man party with Sylvia and Bill. I'm gonna move along here. I don't know if he had underwear. It just was a cool shot, come on. That was at Poco. And everybody knows that climb. I don't see any pine trees either. And Tim, this is it, you know, we've gotten a little long in the tooth now. Tim, unfortunately, got run over by a avalanche. Nice shot of Bill and Diane. Yeah, he did ski patrol, I don't know where in Colorado, but he got hit pretty hard, and, you know, in Utah, yeah. Yeah. So he, you know, he's still climbing pretty good in there, but you could tell he was hurting. He wasn't 100%. He now lives out in, you seem like not Nova Scotia, but Newfoundland. Yeah, they kind of gone off the grid there. There's great climbing out in Newfoundland and the other big island. And Sunburst Durette. Deadwater. And Rich has become a lifelong friend. I consider he's my best friend, lifelong best friend. He's sitting right there. We're both photographers. In fact, a lot of the early photographs that you see in this presentation were his. You know, like a lot of beer wall stuff, all the ones that looked really old and in the way kind of photos, but he has since become a fabulous landscape photographer. It's really great. And if you ever get a chance to see his work, if he ever puts it out there, but he's hiding it.
I'm a little shy.
Yeah, he's a little shy, but I tell you, if you know Nathan Farb or whatever his name was, he blows him away. And
By the way, a lot of these images were shot on slide film.
That's
Kodak
right.
Ektachrome 64 for some of you older folks. So that's why you see
Kodachrome.
Kodachrome, Ektachrome. A lot of these are poor quality because they've been in sleeves and 3-ring binders for all these years, and
Yeah.
finally dig them out and they've deteriorated a little bit. So we've scanned as many of these, but some of them just are not in good condition. That's why the quality was suffering.
Oh, that last one, what's the name of that route?
Run higher.
Run higher, jump faster.
Yeah.
That's a turn
Lycra
route.
tights. That was when we were doing using Lycra tights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were wearing them?
I had purple Lycra tights.
Oh,
Chuck
I
had
never knew that.
bright-
I
oh, yeah.
skipped over that.
Yeah, they were all the rage.
Yeah, they were. And that's Ken Rebel. We're doing what I call the Great Bubble. And that's a girdle traverse, doing the wall, Calder route, all the way to the Disputed, up the Disputed. And then I did a traverse to the left called Crosstown Traffic. Did that with Rich and Bill Dodd. And I see that part hasn't been scrubbed on Crosstown, so any takers, go have some fun on that. And this is the Todd Eastman section. He took this photograph, nasty old fella. He was a character. He was great. He was another mentor. He really showed me a lot about footwork and hand technique. He was a scrappy little gnome. I gotta be careful what I say here because say no more quick as a wink to a blind man. Anyway, he was. We had some good times together, partying and climbing and having a good time. He was on the scene, I think, fairly early. He was working for EMS. He might have been one of the early people to go into Mackenzie Pond and play around in there. Don, you had mentioned another name that somebody had been there, really kind of
Chris
started.
Hyson was in there early.
Who?
Chris Hyson was early to those boulders.
Right. And what route is that? At Poco. Boy, you guys, old guys are stumped.
That's not working.
Well, I can't remember. So that is the first edition of Jim Lawyer, Jeremy Haas's guidebook party right there, and everybody was there. I think Rich, you're in there somewhere. Michelle, Mellor, Pat Munn. Who else is in there? It's hard to see. It's a tough one to look at. The people in the back. Yeah, it's a tough one to see. And then this was the old man climbing get together at Royce's house, and we had a competition as to dressing up with period costumes of different climbers. And where that beer is in front of my face, I was wearing Henderson. What's his first name? Yeah, Henderson, like he was big on Canon and doing first ascents, early first ascents, along with like Whitney Gilman, Underhill. Ken Henderson, that's right. So I dressed up that. And then Don, what did you dress up? Because we won first place, and we won a chalk bag each. That Royce's wife.
I think all I had to do was dig those shorts up again, and that was a slip.
That was it. Anyway, who was a winner? So you got who's in there? We got
Jeff Smith, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the Dodds. You got Rich. You got Tim Beeman. Pat Munn. Jim Lawyer. That's Jim Lawyer next to him, holding up the. Is that a can of oil or?
No, I'm holding up a bottle of Jaeger.
Oh, is that you?
No.
That's flooding at the far right.
That's
Right.
bloody,
And then Rosencrantz, right? Yeah. And he was one of the earlier guidebook authors, probably the first guidebook that I had. And then I think the first one was Trudy Healy. Don?
Yep.
Yeah. So, he's one of the early guidebook writers. And rumor had it when Don took over the book from him that, what's his first name? Tom, yeah, Rosamond. See, I'm going to see now. Anyway, the rumor has it when he handed over the writing of the guidebook to Don, Tom just shook his head and said, "Those Poco guys won't give me any information." So,
He didn't say guys.
Oh, girls?
Asshole.
Asshole. So,
By the way, senility is when you remember stuff from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Can't remember, yesterday. Dementia is when you can't remember stuff from a long
okay.
time ago.
I'll take your word for it. Okay, so this is, just some shots of who was there. Us and, Rosencrantz. These guys did a lot of climbing. They did, for training for the Long's Peak, the Diamond. How many pitches you try to do in a day? You don't remember doing that?
I have no idea what the number was.
You are senile. Yeah, so anyway, they, wait, Mark, do you remember this?
I forgot the question.
What was the question?
They are so modest. How many pitches did you do in the Adirondacks to train for the Diamond, which you did?
Oh, that's,
You guys were training hard, I remember that.
yeah. We did all the routes and pitch out at
Yeah,
one day.
right,
Which was cool.
yeah. I thought it was something like that, so you do remember. You're forgiven.
We thought we were good.
You got Patrick Munn. Move right along, Royce. Got Smith. All right, we're getting to the end. So since being in the Adirondacks, I spent a lot of time in the whites. I think I became a better climber in the whites, and since done a lot of first ascents, more than I ever did in this area, like in Kinsman Notch, Mount Oscar, and in fact it was sort of like Beer Wall Take Two, the Echo Crag at the top of Franconia Notch, very kind of similar, became very popular, overused, and so on. So in 1987, me and Ken had to go at Annapurna 1. We were attempting a new route, and if we had summited, it would have been the second winter ascent. But you see the red, the basket on the right, there's a red duffel bag, but you can see there's a rat above it, and that was our line. We got to 23,000 feet and stormed off. Annapurna is just above 26,000 feet. So if you follow that arete to where there's that plume of wind-blown snow, that's Rock Nor, and that's at 24,000 feet. So 24 to 26, so you got what, 2,000 feet, but it's about a mile from Rock Nor to the summit, traversing the east ridge of Annapurna. And at the same time, we only had 40 porters when we went in there. That's all we could find, because there was a Japanese team trying the Bonington route, which was done in 1973, I believe. And that's on the left. You can see the clouds around where there's that open rock, and it's sort of probably 2/3 of the way up. The Bonington route essentially goes on the left side and then directly over to the summit. The summit is actually, you can't see, it's foreshortened. But Japanese team was in there with 40 climbers, and they had like ridiculous amount of porters. I think it was about 400 porters, and then they had a bunch of Sherpas, climbing Sherpas, a bunch of people, cooks and whatnot. We had 40 porters, we had 2 cooks, and 1 Sherpa, Pemba. And Pemba became, with me and Ken, we were the sort of the rope guns for the other team. We connected with some Canadians who we didn't really know, and got in, they brought us on as sort of rope guns. And they got to the base of the wall and decided they didn't want to climb after all that effort. spending money and getting all the gear together. So Ken, myself, and Pemba try to go alpine style up to 23,000 feet, and then got stormed off. It was a big storm that just dumped, and we didn't have enough time for it to clear out, and it's headed home. That's the south face. And then I did LCAP with my other good friend, John Sykes. I don't know, probably many of you have heard about him. He's a character, and we did LCAP, we did the triple direct together. And we've done a lot of first ascents in the White Mountains together, and he's written a couple guidebooks. I did a lot of photography for it. That's the Great Roof. And he's a character too. This is on a first ascent in Franconia Notch that we did. It's called Persistence. And this shot was actually in June. And it was just a very cold June, high winds. And we decided that day to bring our down jackets up. But it's a beautiful climb. When we did it at A2, it now goes at 512. When we did it was 510, and then it has a beautiful 5.9 last pitch. If anybody knows Eagle Cliff, it has a diagonally sort of a breakthrough there with overhangs, very loose as hell. On the right side, I'd done a first ascent again with John, and it's called Stone Fingers. And I was on the leading last pitch, a block, about 250-pound block, fell on my hand, tore the tendons in my fingers, and it went on my chest, blew out my first gear, I pirouetted, pushed the thing off, and it's going straight towards John, and it lands just right there, it just explodes. He got a little shrapnel on his leg, but he did one of this with rope. The rope could have got cut. I could have gone all the way about 250 feet, and he could have got hit. It would have been a bloody mess. But that was one of the more exciting moments. And he did the first ascent of Valhalla, which is the first grade 6 NEI 6 in New Hampshire. It's a beautiful climb, Valhalla. That's Go Back Mountain, which is way northern part of New Hampshire. And that's me on the first ascent of Black Tourmaline on the lower patina wall. Beautiful 5.7 plus crack, 3 pitches, real variety pack of stuff. So it's still been fairly active. This is last year. I did put up a 3-pitch climb called the Rise of the Phoenix. And this patina area had a big forest fire in 2017, and it just had major blowdown and opened up the forest where the sunlight could form, but all the white birch and all the spruce got burnt to a crisp. So we spent a good part of the summer opening up this route, beautiful 5.7 3-pitch route. And I did that with Jake. So the beat goes on, and that's it.
All right, thanks, Jamie. That was awesome.
All right, that was 1 hour and 28 minutes. Sorry, folks.